Hello, I'm Dylan.
And I'm Keon.
And this is Trust Your Doctor, that podcast where we mistake a hairdryer for alien weaponry. Because this week we watched Dalek.
Written by Robert Shearman.
Directed by Joe Ahern. Ahern? What is with the directors this season? And having difficult to pronounce names.
Maybe he got a hernia while directing this.
It's spelled Ahearne.
Yeah, but you never know how it's pronounced.
No.
And aired on April 30th, 2005.
I mean, every letter could be silent except for the A, so it could just be Joe A.
Maybe every letter is silent and just be Joe.
That would really suck for if he's at like the DMV and they're calling up his name. They usually call, first and last name, and he'll have to get up there and be like, no, it's just Joe. And they'll be like, what? Every letter in my last name is silent?
Maybe there are letters that aren't in his name or sounds that aren't in his last name that do make a sound. The opposite of silent letters.
So like what? There's like a couple Z sounds in there.
Why
Q
not?
maybe.
Yeah.
Joe's.
Anyway, Dalek. There's actually no Dalek in the
Well, apparently.
Well, apparently not. Like the big reveal at the end.
Well, so Robert Shearman prepared a version of the story without a Dalek in because Russell T was worried that they weren't going to get the rights to the Dalek from the Nation estate. So he had Shearman prepare a second version with a non-Dalek.
Damn you, Terry.
But thankfully, the Terry Nation estate granted the rights to use the Daleks in the reboot show, which is...
Yeah, thankfully.
Yeah, thankfully. So I don't think this story would have worked at all with a non-Dalek, entirely new alien species.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't. And that's one of the big things that I was thinking about while watching this is like, if you're new to Doctor Who, this episode probably isn't going to be that good.
A lot of people enjoyed it.
Yeah, I guess, but like, to me it would have only worked if you knew about the Daleks and had seen them, especially Genesis of the Daleks.
I don't think you necessarily have to know the whole backstory of the Daleks. The Daleks were pretty big culturally, so I think
yeah, I guess
most people watching this would have at least known the name Dalek when they heard it come up. They may not have necessarily had the 30 years of Dalek history that we have, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. So, it begins with the Doctor landing 53 floors down.
Yeah, it begins actually really abruptly with no recap of the last episode, which I guess is new.
Which is fine, because last week had nothing to do with this story.
Yeah.
So they apparently landed in 2012, and I totally forgot for a minute that 2012 was the future when this aired, but it's actually the past when we're watching this. But
deep.
I completely forgot that it was the future for Rose, because she was like, I'd be 27 right now, and I'd be like, what would that make you now? Oh, wait, you're 19, because 2012 is...
Yeah.
Anyway.
And they're in
museum.
The Space Museum.
Yeah, the Space Museum. It is a museum, but not in space. It's on Earth.
But the Earth is in space.
I mean,
yes.
Yeah, we did have this discussion once.
Anyway, there are a bunch of alien artifacts and a Slovene hand.
That's an alien artifact.
To bring back that classic Doctor Who villain, the Slovene.
There's a story later this season where the plot synopsis that was released from the BBC was the Doctor encounters a villain he long thought dead. And everyone was like, oh man, it's going to be the Master. And then it was, it's the Slovene. God. But we're not there yet.
Maybe they were trying to push the Slovene as like the new Daleks somehow.
I don't think the Slovene ever become a major villain after this season. If I remember correctly, they should bring back the Slovene. Anyway, there's also a Cyberman head, but it's not any sort of new Cyberman head. It's like the Cyberman head from the 80s.
Yeah, I guess. I didn't read up on this at all, but maybe they just hadn't redesigned them yet.
No, they hadn't, because Russell T once again, being really specific about how he did things in rebooting the show, he only brought back one quote-unquote major villain per season during his tenure.
And this season it was the Cyberman head.
No, this season it's the Daleks. Future seasons include the Cyberman and the Master, obviously.
Yeah.
But we're also not there yet. But yeah, so Russell T was pretty specific and smart about how he was going to do that, because it kind of would have sucked for all the new fans to dump 50 years of lore on them in one season. But yeah, they haven't redesigned the Cybermen yet because the Cybermen aren't appearing this season. And the Doctor, for whatever reason, makes a rookie mistake and touches the glass surrounding the Cyberman head, which sets off an alarm, unsurprisingly.
Yeah, so the Doctor and Rose are captured. In this scene, apparently you didn't think so, but there's like a musical little cue or bit, I guess, that sounds exactly like the Anakin versus Obi-Wan fight theme in Star Wars.
Yeah, it didn't sound like it to me that much. I mean, you texted me about it, and then when I watched it, I heard that bit, and I was like, what timestamp am I at? And I was like, oh, 140. I guess that's what he meant.
No, it was 140. It was like 145, 146. It was just
around the 140 to 150 mark in there.
Yeah, I'd say listen to it again, because it kind of sounded exactly like it. Anyway, I think this actually predates episode 3 coming out, because I think episode 3 came out in May 2005, so this is like a couple weeks before that.
Yeah, because it's the 30th of April, which is like the last day of April.
Yeah, it's still a couple weeks before.
We're second to last day. I can never remember if April has 30 or 31 days.
30, I think? I don't know. Nor do I really care, so maybe they should bring back Dudley Simpson if he's still alive.
No, thank you. Not that his music was bad, I just don't think it would fit the show anymore.
Not that his music was bad, it just wasn't good at all.
Dominic Glenn's still around, making remixes of his incidental music. His extremely memorable incidental music.
Yeah, I was going to say, how much does that music really warrant a remix?
Apparently a lot of people really like the music to the Happiness Patrol.
All right, I can't remember what it sounded like at all. Apparently Tainted Love by, what's their name?
Soft
Cell is a remix.
Yeah.
Looked that up a couple weeks ago.
It's one of those songs where the remake got better than got bigger than the original.
Yeah.
Kind of like Johnny Cash's version of Hurt, or some other songs that I'm not remembering right now. So the Doctor and Rose get taken through some of the most generic-looking corridors in existence, but first we meet Van Staten.
Yeah.
Henrik von Staten?
Henry, I think. I think it was Henry.
von Staten.
I don't think he was German.
His last name is Von Staten.
Yeah, but I don't think his first name was German. Well, I mean, German is in, like, from Germany, because he's obviously from the U.S.
Henry von Staten. And he's pretty nasty guy. There's a guy, his advisor, I guess. Apparently Henry von Staten just controls the US government because he decides that they should replace the president because the current one's not doing a good job.
They correctly predicted the next president is going to be a Democrat.
I don't know if that's correct, since they said next president in 2012 when Obama was elected in 2008.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so it's actually not correct.
It's vaguely correct.
Yeah, I guess it depends when this takes place in 2012. Maybe it's December 21st. Maybe this is the end of the world that they averted by killing the Dalek or having the Dalek commit suicide. Spoiler.
Well, anyway, his advisor's like, should we really replace the president? And then Henry von Staten is like, wow, thanks for your input, you're fired. Erase his memory, drop him somewhere outside a city with an M. And then I guess this lady who was like second assistant in command just immediately steps in as head assistant. And then there's this English guy named Adam Mitchell who has a really ill-defined purpose in this operation.
He's like the scientific advisor, but no one really cares or pays attention to what he's doing, so he just has this sort of lab all to himself, I guess.
And he doesn't really have any scientific knowledge about these alien weapons / alien technology at all, so...
Apparently he's just some hacker who they gave all this alien technology too.
He's just some guy off the street. And they're like, hey, you, we need you. Which becomes all the more likely based on what happens to him next week. But anyway. And then the doctor gets taken to Henry von Statten with Rose, and the doctor's talking with von Statten and reveals that he knows a lot about alien technology because von Statten's holding this weird thing, and the doctor's like, it's a musical instrument, see? And when he plays the musical instrument, looks like they just embedded LEDs in the little prop and turned them on.
Yeah, probably.
So bringing back that old Doctor Who really low budget props.
Well, the Dalek looked pretty good in this.
Yeah, the Dalek looked amazing. They probably spent their entire prop budget for the story on the Dalek. Probably their entire set budget too, since there's nothing defining about any of the sets at all.
Yeah, gotta bring that classic show flair back of running through nondescript corridors.
Is that what we really wanted to bring back from the classic show?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Running through nondescript corridors. Brilliant.
Anyway, von Statten, whatever his name was, reveals sort of who he is and that he was the inventor of the internet, I guess.
He owns the internet.
Owner of the internet. And I was like, nah, that's Al Gore.
Maybe he is Al Gore. Maybe
he's an allegory.
Jesus. I'm not sure whether I should be impressed or sad.
Probably a mix.
Anyway, yeah, he apparently owns the internet, and Rose is like, nobody owns the internet, and he's all, that's what we want you to think. So he takes the doctor down to this room, and...
Yeah, because the doctor obviously knows a lot about alien technology. She's like, maybe you can help me with this thing that I've been keeping in the...
And drilling into... Because we got a scene before this where von Statten asked his, I guess, head scientist if he had got it to talk yet, and then we get a point of view shot from the Dalek, of the Dalek screaming as the guy is trying to drill into the Dalek casing.
Yep.
And so they take the doctor down, and the room's all dark, and the doctor's like, what's in you? What's in this dark room?
And you see the Dalek's eye stalk light up, and it starts talking to the doctor, and he's like, oh no, I thought you were all dead. No.
Yeah, so this is when he has this long conversation with the Dalek, where it's revealed that the Dalek is the lost Dalek, and the reason why the doctor is so upset, more so than usual when the Daleks appears, because the last great Time War was fought between the Time Lords and the Daleks, and the Doctor was the one who ended the Time War by wiping out both races.
And the Dalek brings up how he and the Doctor are the only survivors, and how they're pretty similar to each other, and they touch more on that later in the episode, too. Mm-hmm. That's one of the reasons why I would love to watch this episode after rewatching Genesis of the Daleks. Because it kind of seems to... Obviously, there's the whole Time War thing, which is new to the 2005 series, but seems to follow right off the back of Genesis of the Daleks, which is good, because that was the best Dalek serial.
Yeah, the Doctor also makes a reference to Davros at some point when they're in the elevator with von Statten. He's like, who created it? And he's like, a genius. You'd like him, von Statten. But
there's that whole thing where the Doctor and Davros are just two versions of each other, too. So I guess, well, they didn't bring back Davros, obviously, but it's this Dalek now. Yeah, thankfully. But one thing I thought was funny was that the Doctor's like, no, how are you still alive? That's impossible. And it's like, they literally come back every single time you think you wiped them out. It's not that impossible.
Yeah, but, I mean, the Doctor thought he wiped them all out for real this time, because he took out Gallifrey with them, with all of his people on, which is why the Doctor's been so angry and upset and, I guess, damaged, so to speak, for the past 5 episodes, is because it's revealed that he was the one who killed off his own people.
Yeah. There's a lot of survivor's guilt for the Doctor in this, and for the Dalek, surprisingly.
Yeah, the Dalek calls the Doctor a coward, which I forgot the Dalek does that, and there's a quote later in the season, and I don't remember what episode it's in at all, but one of the villains is talking with the Doctor, and he tells the Doctor, which will you be, Doctor or coward or destroyer? And the Doctor says coward any day. Yeah. There's this whole thing where the Doctor he killed off his own people, but he doesn't the reason why he did it is because he wanted the Time War to end, not because he hated his people. And he beats himself up about it a lot because he killed not only, the greatest evil in the universe, the Daleks, he killed, millions and millions of Time Lords. So that's kind of why he's so uppity about it. Gets really angry with with the Dalek later on again. Understandably. Yeah, I like this. I like the idea that the Doctor was given a choice, that there was no good choice, and he had to make the choice that was best for the whole galaxy rather than just for his own people.
Yeah, which actually that comes up in this episode later. Mm-hmm. But anyway, we're not there yet. So the Doctor realizes that the Dalek is broken, or its laser thing is.
Yeah.
And he's like, ha ha, you can't get me. He just runs around sort of taunting the Dalek for a little bit.
He's like, well, if you can't kill me, what are you good for? And the Doctor's like, I'm going to kill you. And he starts electrocuting the Dalek, and then Van Statten's men bust in and tear him away.
He just goes to the wall and flips the switch, and how did you know that that's what it would do?
I mean...
He just makes another educated guess and is right.
I mean... He saw the drill and the scalpel when he came in, so I guess he assumed that they had been torturing the Dalek. And I guess he assumed that... I mean, yeah, it is kind of a jump, this assumption, but I guess he assumed that switch controlled the electricity.
He was right, so good on him, I guess. But anyway, he's stopped.
Yeah, they tear him out of the room, and then Von Statten's like, you mentioned a war, and he's like, yeah, between my people and the Daleks. And then Van Statten's like, well, that means there's 2 aliens on Earth. Hard cut to scene where the Doctor's tied against this.
Well, no, because first we get the info that, Von Statten's pretty impressed that the Doctor got the Dalek to talk, because apparently he hadn't got it to talk before. He tells I don't know who this guy actually was, some sort of scientist or just the torturer, to get the Dalek to talk again, no matter what it takes. We also get a scene with Rose and Adam, where Adam kind of reveals what he is, which we already discussed.
Adam wants to see the stars, and later on the Doctor makes this really snarky comment. He's like, just go outside then. He's not wrong.
Yeah, so obviously they're setting up a love triangle between Adam, Rose, and the Doctor, which is going to suck. I can already tell it's going to suck.
Don't worry about it.
I'm not worried about it. I'm kind of worried about it.
Don't worry about it.
Anyway, it was pretty funny how Adam was boasting about being a genius, and he's like, yeah, I hacked into the U.S. defense system when I was 8, and I was like, yeah, Mickey hacked into UNIT last episode. Not that impressive.
Yeah, well, Mickey had the Doctor's password, so... The Doctor's apparently all-access password that was still active in 2005. Even though the Doctor, technically ditched UNIT in the 70s and 80s.
I don't think he actually technically ditched them. He kind of just left without any word.
That's pretty much what ditching is.
I guess. But technically ditching makes it seem more like he, signed his forms and went off
on a grand European tour. So, the Doctor, Van Statten apparently has the most painful scanning device in history, because the Doctor screams out in pain when this device scans him. And then Von Statten wants to patent the Doctor's binary vascular system, which he has 2 hearts. Yeah. I'm not sure how you can patent something like that.
I'm sure he'd find a way to do it.
Yeah, since he apparently controls the United States government. But then, Adam takes Rose down to the Dalek, because Rose doesn't see the Doctor's confrontation with the Dalek, but she sees the torturer torturing the Dalek, and Rose, being the
upstanding
citizen, decides to go and put a stop to this, which I understand, because she doesn't know what the Daleks have done or what they can do.
Yeah, so she goes down. Adam apparently can just get in the room with his clearances.
Yeah, Adam apparently has all access pass to this facility. Once again, calling into question what the heck he does.
So they go talk to the Dalek, and the Dalek sort of tricks Rose into thinking that it is technically a victim, but still kind of tricks Rose. And this scene was kind of weird to me, because it seems kind of out of character for the Daleks to use lying and deception it doesn't really seem like the classic series Daleks would have done that.
Well,
But they're bringing a lot of new things to the table with this Dalek, so whatever.
and also this Dalek just found out it's supposedly the lost Dalek. So the Dalek says it hasn't talked for however long since it landed on Earth. Von Staten said it landed like 50 years ago in a crater or something.
Yeah.
But the Dalek's been waiting for orders from Dalek High Command, I guess. The Dalek says the Dalek must have fallen through time.
Yeah.
And now there's...
Yeah, so I guess it's that because Rose touches the Dalek and it sort of absorbs some of Rose's personality, I guess.
Well, so the Dalek actually explains this later. The Dalek says that because Rose was a time traveler, the Dalek was able to synthesize from the like time travel particles that were on Rose. It was able to regenerate itself.
Which is kind of a BS explanation, but at the same time, I guess it's like, well, the Dalek was already developing emotions before Rose even touched it because it used like this tactic that the Daleks would have never used.
Yeah.
Or I'm just defending writing that, I don't want to say bad writing because, well, I just don't want to say that, but writing that brings something new to the table.
Mm-hmm.
But I like to think it's that the Dalek was already sort of becoming less Dalek-y even before Rose touched it.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what happens. Rose touches it, and it regenerates and breaks free from the chains.
Yeah. I was going to say if the Dalek waited around another 100 years, it would be there for the invasion. Then it would have some orders to follow.
Yeah, I find it, I mean, I guess Unit and whoever else did a pretty good job of covering things up, but I find it hard to believe that nobody knows what the Daleks are, or who the Daleks are.
Well, prior to 2012, they didn't really...
They had Day of the Daleks. They were in that mansion.
The four Daleks.
They were in that mansion.
Yeah, but see, only
mansion.
Unit people witnessed that, so it would have been really easy to cover up.
I'm sure he got out. I'm sure there were moles in Unit.
Yeah, and I'm sure they probably got taken out back into the alleyway, and then there was a single gunshot heard from inside.
I'm sure he got out somehow. Maybe he didn't.
I
Maybe
doubt
he didn't.
it somehow.
Anyway, the Dalek decides to go on a killing spree.
As you do.
Kills over 200 people.
I go on a killing spree every Sunday, don't you? The Dalek plunges the guy's face, and we finally find out what the plunger's for. I've always wondered that since they stuck it on the first prop because they were out of budget.
Apparently it's for suctioning people to death.
Apparently it's just for suctioning things in general, which is what a plunger is used for, so I'm not sure why we're surprised, but it suctions the guy's face, and then it uses the plunger to try million combinations in the door lock.
Yeah.
And then it absorbs electricity through the plunger too, which regenerates its blaster bolt beam thing.
It absorbs the internet.
Oh, yeah.
So, that's new.
Well, the Dalek's looking for the other Daleks, so apparently it downloads the internet looking for the Daleks.
Yeah.
Probably found Craig Owen's website. Which is probably... Actually, I guess maybe the domain name would have been reclaimed unless his family kept up on their payments after Craig Owen tragically got shot by that Auton.
We should have believed him the entire time. We have to keep his site alive. We have to keep the only valuable thing he left on Earth alive.
I'd say his family's pretty valuable.
No, the site's more valuable. What good is one person compared to this conspiracy theory website?
His will is like, I leave to my wife my website. And I donate all my money into
keeping the website up and running.
So the Daleks killing a bunch of people. Rose and Adam run away because they're civilians and they're the only unarmed people in this base, apparently.
Yeah, what was kind of cool to me is it's Rose and Adam and this one guard, and the guard is shooting at the Dalek, and the Dalek sort of, you think it's going to run by and just kill them, but it actually doesn't. It just completely ignores them as if they're not even a threat, as if they're not even on the radar.
Yeah.
Which was pretty menacing.
The Dalek goes around just murdering people. Van Staten orders his people to stop firing on it because he doesn't want it damaged.
Yeah, there's this sort of close-up, slow-motion shot which reveals that the Dalek is, like, absorbing the bullets or something.
Yeah, there's like a magnetic shield around the Dalek. So the Doctor says if you concentrate your fire, you can get through, and Van Staten's like, no. And then the General is like, nah, we're good. We'll just do what we want. Thanks, Doc. And the Doctor's like... Anyway, it's okay because the general dies.
Yeah, Von Staten orders them not to even scratch the Dalek because
Guy's
they're
running up
more
with his
expensive.
car keys.
I don't know if Dalekinium can be scratched with earth metal, but maybe,
Yeah,
But yeah.
I forgot the Dalek was made of that indeterminate, indestructible metal.
Well,
The
Von
Dalek-
Staten goes on this rant about how the Dalek is a lot more valuable than human life.
The doctor's like, you're crazy. And also, hundreds of people have died already at your hand, Van Staten.
Yeah, I was gonna say we didn't mention that this takes place in Utah, so makes sense that the Doctor Who story, probably in the 40-year history so far, with the most guns in it, would take place in the U.S.
Well, so the doctor asks Van Staten what the closest city is in Salt Lake City. The doctor's like, what's the population? The guy's like, 1 million. The doctor's like, all dead.
That's fine then. It's not that populous compared to cities like L.A., New York, Chicago, Houston. We're fine. We can just let the Dalek out. We'll only suffer a few casualties. I mean, it's just Salt
Population
Lake City.
control. Solve that overpopulation problem by periodically releasing a Dalek.
Jesus.
Just hardcore.
Pretty dark, especially considering the
Yes.
Hitler and Nazi parallels with the Daleks.
Yeah, the doctor even says that the Dalek is racial cleansing at its finest or something like that.
Yeah. Which, if I remember correctly, that was like sort of the concept for the Daleks from day one, is that they would be
Yeah.
Nazi-like. And then obviously Davros is, yeah.
Yeah, it started pretty subtle, and by the time Davros was introduced, it was pretty not subtle. So Rose and Adam are running. They run away, and then the Dalek turns on the sprinklers and electrocutes 20 or
Dozens
so
of people.
The doctor says the Dalek wants them to watch, which is why he left the camera on.
Yeah. The Dalek also intimidates them when it's on the staircase and uses its hover capabilities.
Which were actually introduced in the classic series, so
Yeah.
that's not out of nowhere.
It's like the one thing that they brought back.
There's a moment where, actually, when the Dalek downloads the internet, it also apparently knocks out the entire Western U.S. power grid.
Yeah.
So the base is running on auxiliary power, which apparently is only enough to have low lights and isn't enough to close the bulkhead doors. You would think when they designed this that auxiliary power would be enough to close the bulkhead doors, especially when Von Staten mentions that this was designed to be a bunker, like a bomb blast bunker. It would be kind of useless if it didn't have that ability to close the doors without auxiliary power, or
Yeah, well...
with auxiliary power, I mean.
Well, apparently not. So they have to do it manually.
Yeah, but rerouting the power to the doors, and the doctor closes the door because he doesn't want the Dalek to get through. He gives Rose and Adam a substantial amount of time to run what seems to be like 20 feet, and they don't make it.
Well, you said
Rose doesn't make
You
it.
said Rose didn't seem that far behind Adam. I actually thought she seemed really far behind Adam. We don't see them in the same shot. We see them in
We
separate
do.
shots.
No, we see him in the same shot when they're around the corner.
Oh, well, maybe we do then, but later when Adam, combat rolls under the door, it seems like Rose is pretty far behind.
She didn't look that far behind to me when they were in the same shot there. It looked like she was literally a foot behind Adam.
Yeah, but then later it seems like she's pretty far behind him because we see them in separate shots, and it seems like she sort of fell behind.
Yeah, in the 20-foot corridor.
That corridor seemed like 200 feet to me.
It didn't seem that long.
I guess we had
to me.
just totally different interpretations of this scene, but it seemed pretty long.
Didn't seem that long to me at all.
But anyway, Rose doesn't make it through, and Adam does.
The doctor hears a Dalek blast and assumes Rose is dead, and he goes on this.
He's
It's
sort
not
of,
really a rant.
No,
but
it's not. He goes off on Von Staten about how it's his fault, but I sort of think that this is the doctor thinking it's his own fault and just sort of going off. I guess cover isn't the right word, but you know what I mean, right? Like he internally thinks it's his own fault.
Yeah.
But he kind of he doesn't want to maybe admit it, so he goes off on the nearest person.
Yeah. That's not strictly the doctor's fault. He's I mean, it's partially his fault. The doctor was the one who closed the doors.
I mean, every companion death or things bad happening to companions is partially the doctor's fault.
I mean, okay, yeah, because the doctor brought them there, and the doctor even says this. He's like, she wouldn't be dead if I hadn't brought her here. And he also says, I promised to protect her and didn't do that, so...
Yeah.
Kind of suck for that, but Von Staten, you were the one who didn't kill the Dalek at first opportunity, who also didn't kill the Dalek when it wasn't regenerated yet, who also didn't kill the Dalek when I told you guys to all concentrate your fire, who also didn't kill the Dalek later on when I said we could kill the Dalek, so...
Yeah.
Turns out Rose is not dead.
Wow, what a twist.
They just kill off the companion halfway through the season.
Replace her with Adam, that much better and more charismatic companion. No. My problem with Adam, actually, we'll get there. We'll get to Adam. The doctor actually goes off on Adam, like, you made it through and she didn't.
Yeah,
and
right now.
Yeah, I'm not a big Adam fan so far, really, but, to say the least, but that's the one thing that I think that wasn't justified in this, because, like, I can understand someone saving themselves in that situation.
Yeah.
Especially when the door is, like, 2 feet from closing.
Yeah.
But anyway, Rose isn't dead, so the Dalek is like, open the doors or I'll kill Rose.
Well, first the Dalek has a crisis of confidence where the Dalek is not sure why it can't shoot Rose. It keeps trying to shoot Rose, and it keeps, I guess, subconsciously deflecting the bolt. And the Dalek says that it seems that it absorbed more than just the regenerative DNA or whatever that it needed, and it seems to have absorbed some of Rose's human emotions.
Yeah. Which, like I mentioned before, I like to think that it was sort of developing emotions anyway.
It's unclear.
Which might make sense and might not, considering it was in confinement for like 50 years and didn't even talk. But
and tortured.
Yeah. But that's just my headcanon, I guess.
So, yeah, the Dalek threatens Rose. I had a note about this because Rose is like, don't open the door, really half-heartedly. And then, so the doctor opens the door because he thinks, I killed her once, I'm not going to kill her again. But it, would have been nice if Rose had said something like, the Dalek can't kill me because of emotions, and the doctor could have been like, maybe we can use that. Or then the doctor would have realized, maybe I don't have to open the door just yet. I can come up with a plan to kill the Dalek. But no, thanks, Rose.
Yeah, as the Beach Boys once famously said,
wait, where
wouldn't
is this
it
going?
be nice?
I was like, where are you going with that Beach Boys reference?
But no, what's interesting about the doctor's line, I already killed her once, is, well, obviously it's a reference to how he just thought he killed her, but it interestingly ties back to the last episode where the doctor is going to make this, he has to make this decision, like, Rose or the entire world, and he chooses the entire world. Where here he's like, well, I thought back to that scene where, like, he chose the world over Rose last time, and this time he's like, I already did that once, not going to do that again, so this time he chooses Rose and lets the Dalek out, which I guess could potentially destroy the world. Yeah,
but the Doctor's probably... In this case, the Doctor's like, okay, one Dalek, that I can handle. Entire Slitheen family with a bunch of nukes, that's not happening. It's kind of,
I just thought it was a nice callback.
Yeah, no, it is.
It's probably referencing, the one in this story rather than the one in the last story.
Yeah, but it's a nice parallel. Although it's also the Doctor gauging the strength of his enemies and planning out whether or not he can take them or not in direct fisticuffs.
Yeah,
he's punching the Dalek. So Adam reveals that there's some alien weaponry in his.
His lab,
and the uncatalogued weaponry in the Doctor's like, I guess we're gonna use that.
What?
Adam's like, yeah, so the reason why I kept this is because I thought maybe if they decided to wipe my memory and kick me out, I could fight my way out. And I'm like, what?
Fight your way through 53 floors of guards.
Yeah, that, and based on how quickly they just grabbed the other dude and hauled him away, I don't think you'd have time to come down to your, like, weird research room to get your weapons. But anyway, yeah, so the Doctor says they're all broken except for one, which apparently is still working.
Yeah.
Looks like a black spray-painted contraption of PVC pipe.
It's supposed to look sort of like a Gatling gun kind of thing, I guess.
Looks kind of like an RPG to me.
Yeah, maybe. But the Doctor's like, Heck yeah, he straps it on.
He's like lock and load. So Rose is with the Dalek. Dalek wants freedom because it tries to attack Von Statten, and then Rose is like, "What do you want, Dalek?" And he's like, "I want freedom." So they go up to the first floor, and the Dalek blasts a hole in the ceiling, and he sees the sun. And Rose is like, "I can feel sunlight." And the Dalek's like, "What does it feel like?"
I thought the Dalek was just sort of tricking her, like, "Yeah, I just want freedom and stuff," but I guess not.
So the Dalek reveals that it can open its casing, which is also new.
Well, it's not new because in Power of the Daleks, they just unscrewed the top.
Well,
and in the Daleks, Ian went into a Dalek case. So
oh yeah, those things they just threw away in the Daleks when they actually decided to flesh out the Daleks.
I mean, even going as far back as the Daleks, it was hinted at that there's something inside the Daleks. And that was in Power of the Daleks too, but this is the first time we've... Well,
this isn't the first time we've seen
It's not the first time we've seen the college, but it's the first time we've really gotten like a close-up still shot of them. Well, maybe in Genesis, but it seemed more detailed here. I don't remember if we necessarily got one in Genesis. Maybe
not Genesis, but we did see a mutant in the casing at one point, and I don't remember what seal it was in, because someone blasted off the top of the Dalek casing, and we saw the mutant inside, and I think it was in the Seventh Doctor one, which was Remembrance, or it might have been earlier than that.
I don't remember, but I think we saw them in vats in Genesis, possibly.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, but I mean, even going far back as Power, there was like that little scurrying blur off screen. Obviously, they didn't have the prop for it or whatever, but they hinted that there was something in the Daleks, and then really never followed up with that for like 10 more years. But yeah,
there was also the clear Dalek in Resurrection, the Seventh Doctor one, where we saw the mutant inside because the casing was clear.
I don't remember that one actually, but
it was there was the two people at the facility who the girl was looking for her dad, and it was revealed her dad had been turned into a Dalek, and his dad was in the clear case. Her dad was in the clear casing.
I don't remember
Dalek.
that at all.
It was like the B plot of the serial.
Yeah.
So the Doctor shows up with a gun, and Rose is standing between the Doctor and the Dalek, and the Doctor's like, "I gotta kill it. It's killed hundreds of people already," and Rose is like, "No."
We didn't mention the scene where the Dalek electrocutes all those people. It taunts the Doctor by saying, "You would make a good Dalek," because the Doctor goes off on the Dalek.
Well, so the Doctor goes off on the Dalek not having any purpose, and it should just die for not having any purposes, and the orders are it should kill itself, and the Dalek's like, "You would make a good Dalek."
Yep.
Which kind of hits home for the Doctor, like right there in the second heart. You could see it on his face. He's like, "Ooh." Well, because he realizes the Dalek's right. What he's saying is...
How can he ever recover?
Well, he realizes the Dalek's right, because he realizes what he's saying is pretty Dalek-like.
Yeah. Again, why I would like to watch this right after rewatching Genesis.
So the Doctor goes up, threatening to kill the Dalek. Rose is like, "Dalek's not the one pointing the gun at me." And, yeah, I mean... Rose makes a good point, but at the same time I understand where the Doctor's coming from. Daleks killed 200 people. The Doctor doesn't know the Dalek's changing because Rose hasn't told the Doctor bloody anything.
Maybe, I just thought of this right now, but maybe she doesn't really know that it's changing because she doesn't really know the Dalek's personality.
No, because she says now, when the Doctor's pointing the gun at her, she said, "Dalek's changed, she doesn't want to kill anymore."
Yeah, I guess, but I don't know. She's not as familiar with the Daleks, so I can give her a pass.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, she could have told the Doctor something. I mean, this is going back to something that happened in the classic series a bunch, which is that a lot of the problems could be solved quicker. They wouldn't be solved immediately, but quicker if people just communicated with each other.
Maybe that's the underlying message of Doctor Who.
Is that people should just communicate with each other. No,
somehow I don't think so.
There are dozens of situations in the classic series where if people had just talked with one another, it would have helped a lot. So.
And then there are situations in like the Happiness, or not the Happiness Patrol, Paradise Towers, where if the cannibals communicated, Mel would have just been out of there. So for every situation where communication can fix things, there's also a situation where you can just throw a wrench in their plans. Yeah. Just saying.
Yes.
I mean, maybe not.
I don't think so. I don't think those situations are as prevalent as the ones where you could just fix things.
But you never know. You'd have to go back and rewatch the entire show looking for them.
Yeah, and then I would know.
Anyway, the doctor is like, wow, I really am becoming like one of the Daleks.
Doctor's just like, well, I guess if the Dalek's not going to kill anyone, he can live. So puts the gun down, and then the Dalek's like,
haha, and shoots the doctor. No.
No, well, the Dalek's like, this
would have been funny, though.
This is pain. Kill me.
Yeah, because I guess the Dalek can't process having emotions.
I don't think it's the Dalek can't process them. I think it's because when the Dalek was made into the Dalek, it removed all emotion, so they removed pain. But now that the Dalek can feel pain again, it's probably in extreme pain just being in the suit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which is why it wants Rose to order it to kill itself, and Rose is like, no, and the Dalek's like, please. And so Rose kind of has this moment where she realizes that, sometimes every change, while having good elements, isn't always all good.
Wow, deep.
It's true, though, for this story. So, the doctor says, like, look at it, it's in pain.
And then just Rose, seemingly unemotionally, just says, all right, do it. Do it then.
Well, it seems like she feels reluctant to do it, at least. She doesn't want the Dalek to kill itself.
Yeah, I thought Billie Piper could have acted better. And the thing is, she's not actually a bad actor.
No.
Surprisingly, since she was apparently a pop star. But yeah, I don't know. Just kind of felt just all right, just do it then.
It was one of her weaker scenes.
Yeah.
Which is weird, because she had some pretty strong scenes in this story, even. So, but yeah, so the Dalek apparently has a self-destruct feature.
Apparently that's what the I'm going to call them roundels on the Dalek are for.
Yes. Apparently ritualistic military suicide, I guess. So the Dalek kills itself, and Rose is like, well, that hurt. The doctor's like, yep, well, that's what we gotta do in our line of work.
All in a day's work.
He like slings the gun over his shoulder and like walks away into the sunset.
See the dead bodies behind him. All in a day's work. Anyway.
Well, that kind of goes back to the thing that they introduced at the beginning of this season and brought back last week, which is wherever the doctor
leaves
goes,
a trail of death and destruction in his wake.
Yeah. Which is, once again, it's the doctor's a symptom of the death and destruction, but not the cause. Generally speaking.
He's the cause sometimes.
Yeah, generally speaking, he's not the cause. Let's not eliminate that time he wiped out Scarrow, for example.
Anyway, Von Staten is arrested.
Well, he has his mind erased and he's going to be dropped somewhere with an S.
Yeah.
And I guess that lady... So I thought it was implying that lady was going to take over as the new Von Staten, but then as they're leaving Adams, like, they're going to fill it in with cement. We got to leave, like, right now. Apparently they didn't give people time to evacuate. They're just going to fill it up with cement.
Yeah. So the doctor and Rose head into the TARDIS, and Adam's like, wait, what? And he stumbles in, too.
Well, so Rose convinces the doctor to let Adam come, and the doctor's like, on your own head. I guess that means Rose has to look after Adam while they're traveling.
Yeah.
She does an exceedingly poor job of it.
So Adam, new companion.
Not for long. That might be a spoiler, but...
Well, that's actually a good thing, because he kind of seems like the new Adric. I know I've said that about multiple companions, but this time it actually does seem like the case.
Yeah, Adam...
He's just kind of annoying. I mean, he's not Adric level of bad, but...
I liked Adam as a serial-specific character. I don't think he would work as a long-running companion, just because of, like, the way his personality is.
Thing is, well, go on. You think you had more to say, so...
Well, not immediately, no.
I mean, thing is, like, Rose has more of a personality and backstory than most companions have ever had. Whereas Adam seems like they're sort of just regressing to like the Mel thing, where like he's just this guy who researched things, and like Mel, she was just a programmer. Perry, she was a botanist, sort of that one note kind of person who's just there to provide someone for the Doctor to talk to.
Well, the thing about those companions was that they didn't start one note. Like, Perry had that whole story where she was in...
with her uncle and her mom and stuff.
Out traveling, and then she went with the Doctor. And Mel, while she was a programmer, she was also from a small town, so she didn't know a lot of the big things. She just knew a lot about computers.
Actually, Spiral Scratch, of all things, expanded on Mel in like the worst way possible, but at least it tried.
Yeah, with the sister that she apparently forgot and then forgets again.
I guess that try, so to speak, is just made moot, I guess, by just wiping it from everyone's memory and history.
Yeah, but anyway, the thing about Adam is that he feels like he was created to service a purpose in this story. Like, yeah, he doesn't have a lot of personality, but the reason why is because he was required to do
like
certain
to get Rose
things
into the Dalek chamber and stuff.
So introducing him as a companion, I don't think is necessarily the best choice, because it doesn't feel like he was created to be a companion.
Maybe he wasn't.
And I mean, I guess there's a story that Russell T is trying to tell through Adam's tenure in the TARDIS, which we'll talk more about next week, because next week will be his first story in the TARDIS. And yeah, I don't know.
He just doesn't seem that interesting.
It's also really convenient that he happens to be apparently the only British person in America and becomes a companion. That's a little weird. We didn't talk about Von Statten's accent or attempt at one.
It was pretty decent.
Yeah, I think he wasn't from the mysterious British part of America.
Most of the characters in this were, or maybe all of them were British, but they put on pretty decent accents. So.
Yeah. Yep. So there's interesting, I guess.
Yeah, we sort of already touched on this, and that both the Doctor and the Dalek have a lot of survivor's guilt, I think, in this.
The Doctor definitely does.
And like trauma too, because I guess survivor's guilt can be considered like a form of trauma, because trauma is like something happens to you that's just so outside of your regular realm of experience that you can't process it.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I guess the guilt that he and even the Dalek to an extent feels like kind of a form of that, maybe. So I don't know where I'm going with that, but yeah.
I don't know. I think it's a good introduction to the Doctor's character, because I think for 8 incarnations, the Doctor's motivations and, I guess, character was getting a little stale. I mean, yeah, every Doctor had a different personality, but at the same time, it's like, by the time you get to the 8th incarnation, 800 years into his lifespan, you kind of have to wonder, like, why is he still doing this? And I think that the fact that he has survivor's guilt over the Time War, and the fact that he was the one who ended the Time War basically single-handedly, I think provides some motivation to the Ninth Doctor. I think part of the reason why he's so adamant about fixing things and saving people is because he's trying to make up for what he did in the Time War almost. So I think it's a good introduction to the Doctor's character, and I think it was a good idea killing off Gallifrey for a while, because it was getting exceedingly boring going to Gallifrey. So I'm kind of glad they wiped that out for a while. I really liked the story because of those introductions, and because I think it was a really good story between the Doctor and one Dalek. I think it did a really good job of making one Dalek really terrifying.
Yeah, actually gave one Dalek a personality for once.
Yeah, well, it's hard to do that when you've got thousands of Daleks and they're basically glorified foot soldiers for most of their run, which is why Davros was introduced.
Yeah, that's literally why they created Davros.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite of the season so far.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say that. I don't know what my favorite is so far.
I think it's this. This is probably the only story I remember from when I watched this season, because I remember really liking it the first time I watched it too. So I'm
gonna say end of the end of the world probably is my favorite.
Yeah, so we'll see more of that survivor's guilt in the coming seasons.
Yeah, that's why I watched Doctor Who.
It's character development.
Yeah, it's character development.
And
It's just a joke.
There's
Just a joke, man.
there's a huge. I mean, it continues to play a part even into the 12th Doctor's run, although in a different way, in a different way in the 12th Doctor's run than 9 and 10. But that would be spoilers for the 50th anniversary special. So yeah, it's also, before we end, I just want to mention it's unclear whether it was the 9th Doctor who ended the Time War or whether it was the tail end of the 8th Doctor's life. So it's unclear if it was the end of the 8th Doctor or the beginning of the 9th Doctor, which one was the one who ended the Time War. And it remains unclear for a while, and I don't think you need to know. Anyway, you can email us at thedoctor@decorativevegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, love letters, your thoughts on Dalek. You can find us on YouTube, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts, all at Trust Your Doctor. Leave a rating if you liked the show.
Check us out on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor. Like us on Facebook. Also check us out on Twitter at TYD Podcast and follow us on Twitter. And next time we're watching The Long Game. But until then, the end.